From WSL Pure, this is One Ocean. Hello and welcome to another episode of WSL Pure One Ocean. This is Reese. I just got back from Madrid where I was attending COP25. COP stands for Conference of the Parties, and this meeting is the United Nations annual COP for climate change. It's way more conference than it is party, but that doesn't mean I didn't have fun. It was a real honor to be there, actually. I had a couple speaking opportunities supporting our partners at the NRDC in their efforts to promote marine conservation, and there's going to be a lot more on that in the year ahead. But I was also there presenting the WSL's participation in the UN's Sports for Climate Action Initiative, and if you're interested in learning more, we'll link to the presentation in the show notes so you can check it out and learn more about the framework. Point is, I'm definitely jet lagged, but I'm also energized by all the great dialogue that I had this week. We still certainly have a long way to go in working on climate change, but I also have to celebrate the progress and be excited by the people who are in the fight. This week, we're speaking with Rafael Bergstrom of Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii. I was able to steal a few minutes from Raf in the midst of a very busy couple days. His team was on the ground working with vans for the Triple Crown of Surfing, active in the Bill 40 campaign, which you're going to hear more about in this episode, and he just flown back in from California from an emergency, and that night was also due to be honored at the Surfer Pole Awards. So he had a lot going on, and still with all that, he was really focused and present, stoked on their mission, and just a real pleasure to hang with for a bit. So I really hope you enjoy our conversation. And if you're enjoying this podcast so far, please do rate, review, and share with your friends. If you're new, go check out our earlier episodes and subscribe. And finally, be sure to stick around at the end as we have another stellar batch of ocean news in this week's Flotsam Jetsam, including some news on a Blue New Deal. Okay, now for my conversation with Rafael Bergstrom from Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii. How would you introduce yourself? You're Executive Director of Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii, but how do you introduce yourself and who are you beyond the title?
Yeah, I introduced myself as Raphael, like the Ninja Turtle. And recently the Executive Director of Sustainable Coastlines starting in 2019. And yeah, I mean, I think that my world is in the whole world that Sustainable Coastlines is around is protecting our beaches and our coastlines. And I introduced myself in that way too, and trying to do the good work that we're doing to inspire communities. And I did my master's degree here in University of Hawaii and worked for Surfrider Foundation for about 5 years before coming to Sustainable Coastlines.
So you're just in it. You're in the community. You came here, you never left, and you got hooked in, and now you've been with two of the marquee groups of the community.
Yeah, deep in it. I love this place. I mean, it grabbed me instantly from being here, and really connected into a lot of my values right off the bat. I grew up just exploring the outdoors and a family that.
Where'd you grow up?
Mostly in Sacramento, California, right along the American River. And that was my backyard as a kid, just exploring nature. And my parents have that environmental ethic in them. And when I came here, there was just something about the way that community develops here and how people interact with each other that hooked me. And I felt immediately a part of it and wanting to give back to community here too.
That's so cool. And so you were working with Surfrider Oahu for a while?
Yeah, I was the Oahu coordinator for Surfrider.
And did you go straight from that to Sustainable Coastlines, or were you doing some other? Oh, because weren't you a photographer for a while, or was that at the same time?
Yeah, I'm also a photographer on the side. It's like my side passion. I love taking pictures of the natural world and people in the natural world. That's kind of my go-to for photography.
Very cool. So Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii, for those who don't know, what is your mission? What is it you guys do?
Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii inspires local communities to care for their coastlines. That's our mission statement. And we do that through these really large-scale, fun, hands-on beach cleanups with the intent of bringing community together to understand the issue of plastic pollution. And we know that cleaning up beaches isn't the solution to our problems. So we like to get people, large groups together, sometimes as many as 1,500 people at a beach cleanup.
Yeah, slow down, 1,500. That's no joke.
No joke.
It's a mini festival.
Exactly. And that's the idea. Kahi Picaro, our founder, with his team, that was what they wanted to do from the beginning is create that atmosphere of a festival. It's more than a beach cleanup. It's a place for community to gather and then learn about the issue so that they can take the lessons with them, which is the whole inspiring communities to care for their coastlines, because it really does start with our own personal actions and how we stop plastic pollution at the source.
And so, I think some people, have been to a beach cleanup and they've been like, all right, do you need 1,500 people to pick up straws and cutlery or whatever? But what you guys do here, in Hawaii is next level because you're getting a lot of derelict fishing gear. You're getting nets. You're getting big, heavy stuff. And like I think it's almost like on brand that you're a tall, muscular dude, because like you got to be able to get out there and like haul some nets.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, what washes up on our shores in the 8.5 years that we've been around, we've cleared over 500,000 pounds of debris off of the Hawaiian coastlines and united over 40,000 volunteers in doing that work too. So it's pretty incredible. But Hawaii, yeah, it's at the epicenter of the plastic pollution in the Pacific. So we get everything from the small single-use items that we're working to get rid of to the, like you said, the giant derelict fishing nets and everything that's coming out of the ocean from all over the world.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I mean, we'll link in the show notes to Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii and to some of the work that you've done in the videos, but they always just look so fun. And that's one of the cool things is you guys make it fun. It's not about like, oh, I gotta go pick up trash. It's like, we're going to go do this. Let's bring it. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, from having live music at events to just games for the kids, whatever it is, you don't inspire people by scaring the crap out of them. You really, you got to get them into a topic, especially if they're new to it, by bringing them together to have fun, and then they can learn through that fun experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're here in Hawaii. It's the night of the Surf Pole Awards. It's the Van Triple Crown of Surf thing going on. A lot going on for Sustainable Coastlines. Let's start with the Triple Crown and the work that you do here during that event. Can you explain a little bit about your work and your partnership with Vans and with WSL Hawaii and everything you do here for the events?
Absolutely. It's a really cool program that started years ago at the Triple Crown, where we called our waste diversion program. And the idea is that we're working with business to try and, again, stop things at the source of the problem. And by educating the public and businesses about how we can get plastics out of the waste system altogether. So we set up our diversion systems at the different events of the Triple Crown that separates out trash, compost, recyclables. And the idea is that the more people interact with waste in that way, that they start realizing there's a resource behind it too. And we don't actually have to waste. And so we've been doing that, and the program has grown so much over the years, where between Vans and WSL really coming together to embrace the program too, it's spread so much more awareness to the point where we're not even using plastics at the events anymore. And that's huge. That's really, truly what the mission of Sustainable Coastlines is to work from the very grassroots level to the business level to inspire the change before the problem starts.
Yeah, for sure. And, we now on the WSL side are eliminating single-serve plastics from all of our championship tour events, just writ large. But it was funny when I first came on. I've been in this role for about 2 years now. I didn't worry about Hawaii as much because I knew that you were already doing great work. When I first came out here, when I first got the job, this was the first event I came to, and I was already like, oh, they're doing a great job, and they're hitting 65%. I think you hit 70% waste diversion, and I was so impressed right off the bat. So I was like, okay, cool. Jody and the team have it locked. Kim at Vans, they've got it locked. They've got Sustainable Coastlines on it. Awesome. There are other events that are more challenging, and so I've focused my attention there because you guys just have it locked down, which has been great. So thank you.
Absolutely, it's amazing. I mean, and to see the community connections that happen through it, working with Waihuana Farms and doing the composting side of things, where we're really actually talking about how do we create resources out of waste, and that's something that people don't understand at first. How are we connecting plastic pollution to compost? And it's one of those things when you start thinking about, if we stop using so much plastic, the disposables that are going into a system like compost, well, we create healthy soils in Hawaii. We start getting carbon out of the air. There's so many deeper connections from just that simple choice of eliminating plastic. We're working on climate change.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know that's been a challenge here is, people think that they're switching to a compostable or biodegradable plastic, and they go, okay, sweet. I did my part. But unfortunately, the reality is that most of those won't actually compost. They won't biodegrade in your backyard. They're not going to biodegrade unless they hit an industrial composting facility. And then even then, there's a chance that they're not going to be composted. And in a resource-constrained island like you have here, unfortunately, you don't have one of those facilities, right?
No, we don't right now. We're actually working on a really cool project with Sustainable Coastlines for 2020, where we're going to do a small-scale pilot project around industrial composting. But some of the things we use, I mean, the paper like clamshells, those things will break down. It's more of like the PLA cups and things that are still the issue, that they need those industrial style systems, which a lot of places don't have. And that speaks to the bigger issue too, as well. We want to get rid of plastics. we still want to get rid of single use altogether. The more we can inspire people to reuse and not think of something else that you use once and then throw away as the solution, it's more about changing the way our behavior exists altogether towards that reuse economy.
At one point, you were trying to compost some of those bioplastics here, and you realized that it just isn't working. And so that's why you're working on this bigger opportunity or solution, right?
Yeah, exactly. We were working on some of the bokashi systems to try and break down the PLA plastics.
What's the bokashi system?
Bokashi is actually an at-home compost idea where you use effective microorganisms, EM, and you can put the compost directly into a bucket and really break down anything. And you add the EM to this, basically any of your compost, and it'll break it down, and then you bury that maybe like 2 weeks after you've done the bokashi, and it'll turn into healthy soils. So
wow.
It's something that people can do, even if they have apartments, they could get a small bokashi system. But we were doing it on a larger scale with all the waste from Triple Crown. And yeah, some of those PLAs, they would start to break down, but they need more time and more heat to actually really break down.
Yeah, for sure. So on some of the other business solutions that you've been working on, you've also been working with the government, like thinking about ways that you can go upstream, right? Again, pushing upstream. And so it's pretty exciting that I got to be here during this time because you've been working on Bill 40. So what is Bill 40?
Bill 40 is one of the strongest single-use plastic phase-outs that our country has, and it's been a long process. We have to work from the grassroots level all the way to the policy level to make these kinds of big changes that it's going to take to stop plastic pollution.
So what is it calling for? So it's a ban on single-use plastics, right? So which ones? What's it taking down?
So it's mostly all the things that you think of in takeout containers. So we have our utensils, our straws, our polystyrene, our styrofoam foam containers, and those are kind of the low-hanging fruit. But this actually goes a little deeper into more plastics. So all plastics takeout containers and cups and lids, stirring sticks, all the things that we're literally using once and then throwing away. So it's a big move, and it's going to happen over the next couple of years.
And there was a lot of pushback on the bill from the business community, right? And even some kind of cultural sort of, well, this is the way we prepare certain dishes and stuff like that, right? I'm not local enough, and I don't know the nuance enough. So please explain for myself and for listeners who don't know the local sort of pushback. But what was that like? What was the concern?
There's a lot of misinformation that comes from the plastics industry wanting to perpetuate this. So they kind of spread some of these rumors in a way. The "Don't Take Away My Plate Lunch" campaign, and that like we can't eat plate lunch without plastic, which is just, it's so not true. And if you really think about a cultural connection to Hawaii, for 2,000 years people weren't using plastic here. And,
right,
and
we got by without it for a long time, guys.
Exactly. And most of the world has gotten by without it for most of human history. So it was a sad kind of attempt to sabotage some of the bill. The thing is that plate lunch is a staple here, and for so long it's been served on styrofoam. But the problems with styrofoam extend beyond just plastic pollution. There's health issues involved with the creation of it, and styrene is a really nasty chemical that's used in it. So there's a couple sides of it. Is that the alternatives to styrofoam might be a little bit more expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not as expensive, because when we think about them being made out of fossil fuels, out of nasty chemicals, how much it costs for us to clean it up afterwards, the compostable alternatives or the bring your own alternatives are actually cheaper in the long run.
In another episode, I spoke with Jamie Gove, Dr. Jameson Gove, who works with NOAA, and he's doing research here on the amount of microplastics in larval fish. And basically saying that larval fish tend to hang around the surface of the ocean in these like slicks, and that the surface tension of that water is such that it gathers microplastics in that area even more so, and so then the fish are even drawn more to it. And so you think about the long-term costs of ingesting our own plastic versus like a cent more for something more sustainable,
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one of those things that the business community hasn't really tied into the costs, and it's not told enough to the public. I mean, California did a study that they spend $500 million every year cleaning out storm drains and beaches from plastic. In Hawaii, it's similar. I know that our Department of Facilities Management has similar problems where storm drains get clogged. I mean, we're spending $1 million a year in volunteer hours for all the beach cleanup organizations in Hawaii. So the costs are enormous from the aftermath of them. And studies have shown that worldwide, we're spending billions of dollars to clean up plastics.
Totally. Hey team, a quick break from our conversation to hook you up with a 25% discount off your order from our friends and supporters at Outerknown. Outerknown supports this podcast because they care about the ocean and our planet and are making clothes accordingly. One example that is a total staple around the World Surf League office is the blanket shirt. Some say it's the coziest damn shirt ever built, and it's not uncommon for a couple people to be wearing the same shirt in the same style on the same day. They come in a bunch of styles, but I guess we all just have the same taste. Hashtag twinning. Like I said, they're super cozy and warm and perfect after a morning surf, and they're made with 100% organic cotton. Also, the buttons are nuts. Like literally the buttons are made out of nuts, which is a pretty cool little sustainable touch. Go to outerknown.com, that's outerknown.com, and enter the code OCEAN at checkout, and you'll get 25% off your full price order, which is a solid hookup just in time for the holidays. Remember to use the code OCEAN at checkout, 25% off. Go to outerknown.com today. And don't forget the code OCEAN for the hookup. Cool. Back to the show. So back to the bill. Take us through the story. How did you get this in? Who were the other stakeholders? Who were the other groups you were working with? I know Surfrider was involved, Zero Waste Oahu, Kokua, etc. So kind of give me a little bit of the story of how you got it to last night.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people think that something like this might just happen overnight. They see the bill pass, and honestly, this has been a decade's worth of work from people who have been involved in it. I've been working on it for 7 years. I've probably seen 25 bills die before this one, and that's from a variety of reasons of the plastics industry really fighting against us, just different policymakers who don't have the same ethics that we do and have the same cares. But this happened because of that decadal movement of people putting their time and love into this and understanding and spreading the message more and more to the larger community. And what we've seen with Bill 40 is unprecedented numbers of our community coming together to support it. And in doing so, they inspired our Honolulu City and County council members to take a lead on it. And we had a big shift in our council that gave us a good majority of people who really started to see the plastic pollution problem as something that we had to take action on. And then once we had the backing of the community, and really, I mean, like you said, the incredible community groups, Sustainable Coastlines, Surfrider Foundation, Kokua Foundation, and Zero Waste Oahu, amongst others, Sierra Club, who really came together to spread the awareness and do a lot of the background work to make sure that our council members had all the information that they needed to do this bill.
Yeah, and as a partner on the WSL Pure side, you did a great job of getting those emails out with very clear instructions. Here's what we need you to do. Here's when you need to do it by. Get on it, right? And you're like, we need everybody to provide testimony. We need everybody to share this message. We need everybody to do whatever. And that kind of organization takes a lot of work because you got to be on it. You gotta like have all your details dialed in so that we know what to do. And that was really helpful for us at the WSL because we were able to say, hey, Surf Breaks team, we got to promote this. This is a community that we care about. The WSL, we speak to the global audience, but we all love Hawaii. Like it's Mecca for surfing, right? And so we're like, hey, this is really important. We all got to get behind this. So we tried to help, amplify that message. And I thought what was really cool was seeing John Florence, help amplify. Then you saw Kelly Slater share, and then you saw Chris Hemsworth, and it was like, boom, you go from a few million to a few million more to all of a sudden 40 million people are going to see that message, which is so cool. So kudos to you guys for raising that message to the next level.
Oh yeah. And thank you and WSL for picking it up and getting the word out there too. And yeah, Jason Momoa chimed in on it too. He's been supporting us throughout the last couple of years. And you're right. It went from a couple of hundred people to 75 million people seeing this out there because of that spread. And that's what it's all about. When I first started going to the legislature and city council, there were not many of the community that was showing up. And I started to realize it was going to take really re-engaging our civic participation in order to put the pressure on that we needed that's able to combat those special interests who are in there whispering in ears. And that's how politics has worked. But over the last 5 years, the amount of people that have showed up and testified and called council members, called legislators, it's incredible to see. And that's what won Bill 40, was truly the community coming together. And then it spread and spread and spread and spread. And there were thousands of pages of testimony that were submitted for this bill.
What were the numbers again? The numbers of for and against testimony?
Before the day before the hearing, the early testimony, there were 2,500 pages of testimony submitted. And we just did some simple numbers of running word searches, and support appeared 2,500 times and opposed appeared about 130 times. So, yeah.
And so, I know being here on the North Shore yesterday, everyone was kind of talking about it, and I surfed with Kona yesterday afternoon real quick, and then he's like, all right, I got to get downtown. I got to get to the testimony. I couldn't make it, so I didn't make it downtown because it's a haul to get down there to commit that time. We had another teammate from the WSL who was there at 10 a.m. She was there. She's like, I'm on it. And then she's like, I guess I'm hanging all day because they put it to the end of the day. And finally, I said, keep me posted, keep me posted. She texted me right at the end of the day, and she's like, it passed. It passed. I mean, you got to be so stoked.
Oh, man, so stoked. It's one of those feelings like it almost doesn't seem real because, like I said, it's been 10 years of work for some people who've been in it deep. And to hear that 7-2 vote, like this is passing and it's going to the mayor's desk, who has said that he's already in support of it. It's an overwhelming feel of joy, release, all these things. And yeah, but you got to see some of the process that we go through in this. It is not easy for the public to time their days around this. That hearing started at 10, but there's so many other things on the agenda that I don't think that they started the hearing for Bill 40 until 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
It was late afternoon, and then you think about people have jobs, kids, things to do, a life, and then getting all the way down to City Hall with traffic on the North Shore is like, it's no joke, right?
No joke.
And so to get that many people committed, because we saw some video inside City Hall, there's a bunch of people there. I mean, they were all cheering, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch how many people actually show up. I mean, and everybody from students to businesses to just your average everyday citizen. I mean, Dyson, he's one of our star high school kids. He's actually homeschooled, and he got 1,600 signatures of students from around the state and rolled out this giant scroll.
Is that what I saw in the video?
Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool. I couldn't make out what it was. I could just see the scroll.
And Dyson himself has been working since he was 14 years old on these issues. He got inspired by some of the work that we put out there for doing more civic engagement, and has just been a champion of getting that youth to really speak out about the future that they are going to inherit from us. And that was powerful to the council members to see that students are coming in and saying, you can't put business interests ahead of the future of all of us who have to deal with it afterwards.
Future voters.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, congratulations to you and the whole team. I know you all worked really hard on it, and I know the whole community worked hard on it. So congrats, man.
Thank you.
You're soaking it in. I can see the smile that you got going. It's pretty rad. And so tonight you're being honored, not necessarily for this work because you were already up for it, right? I think you already got the award. It wasn't predicated upon last night's success.
No, Bill 40 wasn't what made the award. That happened before.
But it's pretty sweet.
Absolutely. It's amazing. It's a huge honor. I know. I mean, especially just the Sustainable Coastlines was started in Hawaii. It exists in Hawaii. It works for Hawaii. And obviously it works on a global issue, but it's rooted here. And so the Surfer Pull Awards are such a staple here on the North Shore. And the work that we've been doing with WSL and Vans at this very time of year, it's a huge honor to Sustainable Coastlines to be recognized within this community.
Yeah, and so you're getting the Agent of Change award, right? So cool.
It's really cool.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, I'm still buzzing from it and still soaking it all in between Bill 40 and this. It's a really cool time for our organization, but for this movement in general.
So cool. What, really quickly before we go, what lessons do you have for those out there in their communities, whether they're part of a nonprofit or not? What lessons do you have for people who are saying, I want to do this? I want to ban plastic bags or bottles or whatever it is. What learnings can you share quickly?
I think that there's so many ways to get involved, and it starts with our daily choices. And when you start doing something like bringing your own water bottle or bag, those are the simple steps that change your mindset, that you start thinking more and more deeply about the other changes. And then the civic engagement piece is something that everybody can do, and it might be hard to show up for a hearing during your workday, but it's not that hard to send an email to your council member or legislature or call their offices, and those things make a difference, because the more public support that goes into their ears, the more capable they are on going out on a limb and doing something like this. So, I mean, knowing your council members, most people don't know who their council members are or who their state legislatures are. And that's a first step, is like find your state website, your city website, and figure out who your leaders are and start having conversations with them. And then seek out the groups like Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii in your own community who are doing this type of work, and see if there's wheels in motion to start some sort of policy on this issue, and link up with them, because they usually already have the avenues tracked out to how to start it, what bills are already going through. And that's really it. I mean, it's getting involved in all these different ways, from the grassroots level to your own life.
So cool, man. Anything else you want to share? Anything on the Sustainable Coastlines front that's coming up that we should know about?
We're just about to release our 2020 schedule. We're excited to have all of our major big beach cleanups. We're going to up our waste diversion program. We're going to do a lot more innovative education in classrooms this year. I mean, anybody is welcome to join from anywhere. Follow along with us on Instagram at Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii. But if anybody's ever out visiting here, just feel free to link up with us through our website and come and join us. I mean, this organization is fueled by volunteers, and it's something that Kahi and the founders almost a decade ago, it was all about that, always this really grassroots level of people coming together. And so we want anybody who wants to be a part of this movement to join us.
I love your energy, man. I love your stoke level. I love what you guys are doing. It's so cool. It's great to finally get some time with you, even though it's brief, but let's get you down to this party so you can receive this award. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Reese. Really appreciate being on the podcast and all the work that you guys are doing to share the message that we're working on too.
Thanks, man. Cool.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks again to Raphael for taking that time to sit down with us. It was a really great convo. And thanks to the whole Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii team, Rachel, Rebecca, and everyone, all their volunteers. They really do such a stellar job on the North Shore, and especially shout out and gratitude to Kahi Picaro, who is the founder of Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii, and just did an amazing job building the organization, and does a lot of work on the North Shore to protect that area. So great job, and great job to the whole Hawaiian community who worked so hard to get Bill 40 across the line. It's so rad to see communities step up and protect their special corner of the earth. And so our friends at Kokua Hawaii Foundation, Surfrider Oahu, Zero Waste Oahu, such great groups. If you love Hawaii and you want to see it kept clean, go support those organizations. They're all stellar. All right, what else is going on in ocean news in this week's Flotsam and Jetsam? First up, the Blue New Deal. I mentioned this at the top of the hour. I don't want to get too political here, but there is an American presidential election coming up in 2020. And there are a bunch of candidates, and they all have a bunch of different plans. And the reason this is relevant to everybody is that America is a big country, and what we do here affects everyone everywhere. And what's really cool and what I'm excited about is that Elizabeth Warren has put forward a Blue New Deal. So you may have heard of the Green New Deal, which is proposing clean energy and a sustainable future. The Blue New Deal is very similar, focused on the ocean. It's talking about ways that we can fight ocean acidification, how we can create the blue economy and build the blue economy, policies on offshore drilling, on our fisheries, on using sustainable ocean farming. And it's just really cool that all of this is even being talked about at the presidential election level. Shout out to our WSL Pure board member and ambassador, Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, who worked on this for the Warren camp. I highly recommend you go check her out. We'll link to her Instagram here. She is super smart. She knows what's going on with the ocean. She helped coordinate the entire Blue New Deal. And this really goes back to, she and Chad Nelson, CEO of Surfrider Foundation, as well as Brent Smith, the founder of Green Wave, kind of got together and said, hey, we need a Blue New Deal. And the Warren team picked up on this and ran with it. And now they have a plan. And that's just so cool. I'm really excited to see, the ocean get top billing. And I hope that this pushes all candidates to think more about the ocean in their policy. Next up, from our friends over at Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, some of the researchers over there have a really great article in Reuters called Mortal Corals. It's about corals and the importance of coral reefs and how they can be studied to tell us things about the past. I don't know if you know this, but if you kind of drill through a coral and take a core sample, you can look at it just like the rings on a tree and understand how old that coral is and what was going on in the environment at that time. And that's pretty rad when you have corals that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. Yes, corals are just like trees. They can be hundreds of years old. So this is a really cool interactive that Reuters does, and I highly recommend checking it out to understand a little bit more about why corals are so important, how we use them to study Earth. Finally, one other really fun link that came our way this week is it's the Deep Sea, and it's a sort of interactive website. It's basically just infinite scroll. So if you don't like scrolling, don't go, but this one's a fun one. You just scroll and scroll and scroll, and you're just diving deeper to the bottom of the sea to see what organisms live at every depth of the ocean. And when I mean every depth, I mean truly every depth. You scroll all the way down to the bottom of Challenger Deep, to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. It's just a cool visualization of the deep ocean, and it's so insane that there are birds that can dive to hundreds of meters deep, that, you know, polar bears even dive to 75 feet deep, that, you know, there are sharks that hang around at thousands of feet deep. It just, all of this is mind-boggling, but it's a really cool way to visualize it. So we'll link to that in the show notes. Go check out the deep sea. All right, that's it for this week's Flotsam Jetsam. Some fun stuff in there. All of it will be in the show notes. You can also find us on Instagram at WSL Pure, or if you want to just hit us up with an email, shoot us an email, oneocean@wslpure.org. Again, that's oneocean@wslpure.org. Tell us what you're up to. Tell us what we need to include in the podcast. Tell us what you think. We'll be back on January 1st, ready for a huge 2020. That's right. We're taking next week off, but that doesn't mean we won't be thinking about our One Ocean, maybe even making some ocean resolutions. What's your ocean resolution going to be? Shoot us an email. Mine might just be to get in the ocean more. And until 2020, we hope you take the extra time to enjoy hanging with your family, celebrating whatever you do or don't celebrate, gifting sustainably, of course, zestfully debating ocean policy, especially now that you know more about the Blue New Deal, hopefully surfing, getting outside, getting in the ocean, and just enjoying yourself. Take time to recharge ahead of 2020. It's going to be a big year. I'm personally headed back to the East Coast, where I'm from, and I'm excited to see the salty shores that I call home. All right, 2020, here we come. Until next time.